All right, we've got a very long comment here by Vinicius, who writes first in English and then in Portuguese. So if you want to hear me speak Portuguese, jump to the end of the video or just watch the whole thing. Here we go. He says, even though I have watched other videos that you said that you prefer to study the grammar by the sentences, you always tend to focus on the most efficient approach and not in self indulgence with the so called effortless methods to learn a language, which I find particularly admirable of you. Like I said in other comments, I brought some light to what I was doing wrong, which makes me very grateful. Um, with that in mind, that your goal is to be efficient, not self indulgent, I think he means lazy with this. I really think that at least reading through a grammar book would once would improve your speed dramatically if you combine with what you're doing. A quick look at it is good if you're in doubt or in the beginning when you know nothing and you want a general idea on how grammar works. But I wouldn't spend too much time with it. It's humans are made for pattern recognition, so you will learn to use the grammar well just by learning sentences and lots of speaking and lots of listening and speaking and reading if you want to. Not to try to memorize the grammar, but there would be there, but there you would find all the patterns that you would have to spend more time to decipher and even notice they exists. Yeah, but that's what they do in schools, and it doesn't work for most people, for anyone really. Just quick look and then start just reading or better listening and speaking. And when in doubt, if you don't know what something is, then you go check the grammar again. But maybe a quick glance at the grammar at the beginning of each learning session if you're doing mass sentences for yeah to learn vocab and stuff. But not even that. If unless you know nothing of the language, if it's a relatively you know if it's a relatively easy language, not even that. He continued. There's more. There's a lot here. Uh, he wrote an entire blog post, even two. Yeah. For example, if you read in a grammar book that a certain grammar pattern appears in the language, you would recognize it in the wild first glance, or at least with less examples that would be necessary otherwise. That's not the problem. I've taught English before, business English, classes, schools, all that stuff, way back in the day. And the problem is that it's not that people don't recognize grammar in real content and real conversation. The problem is not that. The problem is that they won't use it. So that's why you get a lot of people just after 10 years of Spanish study of English studying, for example, they've learned the future and they know if you show them, okay, yeah, that's the past and that's it, then they always speak in the present. Yesterday I go to this place and I do this and I do that. They know it exists and they didn't know the rules. But they just keep talking like that. If you make those people repeat lots and lots of sentences in the past, eventually they'll end up speaking in the past well. If you didn't see that before on a grammar book, it could pass completely unnoticed by you, and only after 20 sentences with the same pattern you would realize that there is something going on. And even then, without knowing clearly the exact context that it appears. That's why you should have a translation next to it, so you know what exactly it means. So the thing here is read grammar not to memorize it consciously, but to make the practices you already do, which I truly believe are the way to go, even more efficient. To a certain extent, I agree. But you should looking at grammar rules should be limited to just a quick look. Okay, this is how it was. These are the general rules. So this is how you use the past. You take a look at it, and that's it. And you go back to sentences, lots of sentences, because that's how we learn languages. it's like a dictionary. Treat it like a dictionary where you go back to it when you have a question, but you don't learn from there. You either take a quick look. If you don't know, if you're really struggling with grammar, just take a quick look at it before every session. So you, okay, these were the rules, and you remember them. But just like less than a minute of looking at it, and then back to the sentences, and make sure you're repeating them aloud. And that way you will learn. But if you spend a lot of time studying grammar, look, schools do this all the time, and it doesn't work. Okay, and now he continues. I guess it's Brazilian, so I try to sound Brazilian, although I've mostly spoken Portuguese. But anyway, continues. Eu acho que esse uso dos livros de gramática não como material para memorizar cada detalhe, mas como uma fonte de padrões, dos padrões que aparecem na língua em certos contextos. Sim, isso faz sentido. A sua absorção desses padrões ia ser muito mais rápida, porque você saberia exatamente que tipo de padrão você estaria procurando. Acho, acho que coisa de umas 20 páginas de um bom livro, 20 páginas de um bom livro de gramática por dia já seria suficiente. 20 páginas por dia é demais. Isso é demais. Acho que é suficiente ter uma lista curta das regras, olhar quando estiver em dúvida, isso tudo. Enfim, continuo. Então, só consultar uma vez ou outra caso você veja um certo padrão que você até identifica. Identifica. Às vezes ainda tenho dificuldade com o sotaque brasileiro. Falei principalmente com portugueses até recentemente. Não, continuo. Mas não sabe exatamente o que provoca ele a acontecer. Somente ler, consultar, não ficar copiando ou memorizando de alguma forma. Só para ficar no subconsciente as particularidades ou padrões da língua. Um bom livro de gramática tem explicações simples do que significa objeto direto, complemento de toda essa terminologia gramatical que não ensinam direito na escola. Você conseguiria se familiarizar com ela da mesma maneira que se familiariza com os padrões da gramática, vendo constantemente exemplos delas sendo usados em contexto. Mas você não precisa estudar tanta gramática. Apenas uma rápida olhada nas regras quando estiver em dúvida, no máximo, suficiente. Perdão pelo comentário enorme, sem problema. Eu gosto de praticar meu português. Sinto que se eu não argumentasse um pouco mais detalhadamente, sugestão seria pouco persuasiva, posto que você já alcançou grandes resultados estudando línguas de maneira que você advoga. Acho que a junção do seu foco em aprender logo o vocabulário é estudar frases inteiras como foco na escuta. Acho que a junção do seu foco em aprender logo o vocabulário é estudar frases inteiras como foco na escuta, mas essa consulta casual à gramática podem gerar os resultados mais frutíferos e o que eu foco de maneira mais eficiente. Abraço. Acho que uma rápida olhada no resumo das regras é suficiente. Se você fizer isso regularmente, você pode aprender todos os casos de gramática, conjugações e demais, simplesmente repetindo frases em voz alta. Se você fizer isso, suficiente. Seu cérebro é projetado para reconhecer padrões. Isso é tudo o que você precisa. Obrigado pelo comentário. Não falava tanto. Há muito tempo eu não falava tanto português.